All right, hey everyone, welcome back. Should have been a happy Tuesday, but it wasn't. Everything was in the red today for the most part. So Bitcoin was down, miners were down huge as well. We kind of wiped out a lot of the gains that we had last week. A lot of this is based on the fears of tariffs on Europe because of Trump wanting to get Greenland. All right, so we got that playing out right now. I think it's one of those buying opportunities if you can buy in right now. We'll also take a look at NUAI is the ticker symbol. The company there is called, if I remember this correctly, New Era Energy and Digital Inc. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it at least as far as what's going on with it. The stock obviously had a huge day today. It was up almost 40% at one point, closed up being up 22%, I think it was. So we'll talk about that one. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. And we'll also take a look at institutions. Have institutions been buying into the miners here over the last 6 months? There's actually some good data on that. We haven't done that in a couple months probably, so it's time to do that. And then we'll get into Q&A, call it a day after that. All right, so let's get into it here, but first we got to go through all this as always. Non-financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe if you can, and if you would be so kind to do that as well. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here today with Bitcoin here. If we go to this chart here, we can see that Bitcoin had a pretty rough day today. We were down approximately 4.59%. We were down $4,249.06. We closed at 88,310. So a lot of those gains that we've had here, well, yeah, I mean, we've had a nice run up here since Sunday of last week, right? We had a nice little run up here during that week, and then we basically wiped it all out and then some. So we're back to where we were basically. This is going back to December 30th, the end of the year. We are still up a little bit on Bitcoin for the month, not much, but right, everybody was freaking out today. So we were down quite a bit there. Dow Jones was down 1.76%. NASDAQ was down 2.39%. S&P was down 2.06%. Russell was down also 1.2%. Everything was down today. It was, I don't think anybody was getting spared today. And you can see that Ethereum was also down quite a bit there. It was down 7.87%. Obviously, a lot of longs got liquidated today in both Ethereum and Bitcoin in the markets as well. The only good sign that I can see here, at least right now, is the RSI on Bitcoin here is at 39 roughly. Last time we were right around here. Bitcoin price at that point was actually a little bit lower, so that still looks pretty good to me here. As far as us being below the 50 SMA here, right, which we were hoping to stay above, we actually fell below it today. This isn't the first time that we've done this where we bounced above the 50 SMA and then actually came below it. If we scroll back far enough on it, we can see that it happened actually back here in 2024. We went above it, we came back down, and then we actually went up much higher here. Did the same thing back in end of December, right? We fell below it, actually went up higher. Then we actually did go lower at that point over a longer period of time. We did it back here as well. Back in June of 2025, we touched it, we went below it, we bounced back up, went below it, and then we went back up further. So that still is in play here. I think it's just a correction, a little fear happening in the markets right now, uncertainty, which is obviously the par for the course here, unfortunately, with everything else. So that's still looking pretty good overall. I think we maybe bottomed out here. We'll see how tomorrow is, but I mean, we're up right now on the new day. We're up 1.23% on Bitcoin. We're up $1,000 roughly and change there. So that's looking a little bit better. I think it was just an overreaction by the markets. Because while the markets were the first day that we were open today, yesterday we were closed here. Trump news came out over the weekend, and everything obviously took a dive here. So miners had a rough day today, to say the least. Bitfarms was down 9.49% here. We had a lot of these guys selling out quite a bit during the last hour of the day. So if we go to the 1 hour chart here, you can see Bitfarms was down 2.55% on the last hour. We obviously had a pretty bad close or a bad open to it on today as well. When they opened up, we were down Bitfarms was down 8.11% at one point, and then actually pulled back up here a little bit. Then we closed lower. Bitdeer was down 8.02%. Kanga was basically flat on the day, surprisingly enough. Cypher was down 4.68%. You can see obviously a lot of sell pressure here the last couple hours. Cleanspark, same thing, was down 4.56%. CORZ was down 2.81%. Hive was down 8.07%. Hot A was down 2.28. IREN was down 6.16%. Mara was down 8.71%. Riot was down 5.93%. And Wolf was down 3.75% there. There are three Bitcoin holding companies, treasury companies. MicroStrategy was down quite a bit, 7.76%. Galaxy was down a little bit, 1.46%. Block was down 5.03%. Coin was down 5.57%. Metaplanet was down 1.92%. Exodus down 0.72. This one is Nexon. Nexon was down 0.24. Similar got taken off because it basically got acquired by, oh gosh, what did it get acquired by? I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but you guys know it got acquired. So that one's no longer trading. So we probably should just get rid of that one. Phoenix was down 3.3% there, and game was flat on the day. We had the CEO of GameStop buy a number of shares today, about $10 million worth. I saw that happening. So that was interesting there. That's maybe why that one was kind of flat on the day. Annie was down 5.58. These are the small miners. Argo was down 2.24. DigiPower, surprisingly, was up actually 0.94%. Then we had DMG being down 11%, Mawson being down 10% plus, Canon being down 8% plus as well. And then the Bitcoin ETF miners were all down 5, 6, 6, and almost 6% there as well. The Ethereum holding companies were down also quite a bit. BMNR was down 9.37. Bit Digital was down 5.91. BTCS was down 6.55. Game was down 5.58. And SBET was down 9.59%. Other companies that we track. American Bitcoin was down 4.88%. Wi-Fi was down a little bit, 1.54%. Open was down 4.2%. Oracle was down 5.8%. Nibius was down 8.6%. Soluna was down almost 6% there. BAC was down huge today for some reason. This thing was down 24.52%. Not sure why. Didn't really track that one. Fermi was down 8.94%. Meta was down 2.6%. Google was down 2.48%. Amazon was down 3.4%. Microsoft was down 1.16%. Nvidia was down 4.38%. And then the one that we talked about yesterday, EOS, was down 0.74%. And NUAI was up 26.79% on the day. So it actually did really good here. It was up higher at that one point. Got to a high of $6.32. We'll get into that one here shortly. Give you guys my thoughts on it. Miners here after hours right now. BitDeer's down 0.82%. Bitfarms right now is, let's see, still up at least a little bit, 0.37%. Kango is down 2.84%. Cypher right now is up 1.12%. And Cleanspark here is up a little bit as well, 0.24%. CORZ Scientific down 0.22%. Hive is up 1.25%. Hut 8 is up 1.65%. IREN is up 0.65%. Mara right now is up 0.58%. Riot, if you look at that one, is up just a little bit, 0.06%. And TeraWolf is down 0.08%. So mixed numbers on the miners here in after hours right now. All right, looking at Bitcoin here, let's take a look at that one. Bitcoin is up just a wee bit here. It's up only 1.44% for January. We got a couple more days to go in January. We'll see if we can squeak out a green month in January. I'm thinking we will. Time will tell, right? As far as the Bitcoin ETF inflows, outflows, we had outflows today of 422 million without IBIT, which is BlackRock reporting there. I'm guessing it's going to be right even with them reporting. I doubt there was a lot of buying happening for that one. The only good news story that we do have here is Strategy continues to accumulate like crazy. They acquired another 22,305 Bitcoin for 2.13 billion at approximately 95,000 per Bitcoin there as of 119. So this was on Sunday. They currently hodl. They're over now 700,000. So they're at 709,715 Bitcoin acquired for 53.92 billion at roughly 75,979 per Bitcoin. This is all part of my MSTR, STRC, STRK, STRF, STRD, and STRE. A lot of different ticker symbols for that one. So that's great that they were able to acquire it. Had they waited maybe a little bit more, they could have gotten more today, right? That's surprising that you got one company buying up 22,000 Bitcoin in a week, basically. Stock obviously did pretty good, or Bitcoin did pretty good last week, but this week it's just crap, right? So at least it's starting out like crap. We'll see where it ends up by the end of the week, but this is great to see there. All right, next, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on New Era Energy and Digital. These are obviously my thoughts. My thoughts could be wrong, so not financial advice. Do your own research, right? As always, full disclosure, things like that. So I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. So New Era came into being not too long ago. It started trading as under NUAI. Probably about, let's see if we take a look at that one. NUAI started trading, if we go to the daily chart, weekly chart, started trading back here in August. So basically this year, under the ticker symbol there, I think there were some changes, some things happening, but obviously it's gone up to a high of $7.59. We had a nice run up here today. That is based on the news that came out last week on them, and this is part of it, right? So this came out January 16th, which was, I believe, Friday at that point. Friday or Thursday. But New Era Energy and Digital partners with primary digital infrastructure to co-develop up to 1+ gigawatt hyperscale data center campus in Texas. So that's obviously huge news, right? So 1 gigawatt plus, that's going to pump the stock. And it did. It pumped the stock for sure. I have some concerns though, okay? And I'll give you guys some of my concerns there as we progress. But based on this is what they announced. So it has announced it has partnered with primary digital infrastructure, an independent data, an independent data center investment platform to co-develop Texas critical data centers, which is part of New Era Energy and Digital Partners. The parties will co-sponsor the project and jointly bring deep institutional expertise in energy, data center development, and institutional asset management to approximately 1 gigawatt plus hyperscale campus located in Ector County. TCDC is being engineered specifically to support the next generation of hyperscale compute needs. The campus will feature both grid and behind-the-meter generation solutions with significant future expansion potential. Okay, so that's all pretty interesting there. As lead capital partner and co-sponsor, Primary Digital Infrastructure brings a comprehensive execution strategy to TCDC hyperscale campus, leveraging deep relationship with the world's leading cloud and AI companies. The firm is well positioned to secure a hyperscale anchor tenant to the project's initial phase, located near Odessa. So Odessa, think of Cypher. Cypher has a site in Odessa as well. Texas, simultaneously, Primary Digital Infrastructure's capital market expertise will be instrumental in structuring and arranging the complex financing required for a project of this magnitude. This financing stewardship, combined with the team's proven experience in delivering mission-critical data center facilities, provides a clear roadmap for the timely and on-budget completion of the campus, systematically de-risking the development from conception to commercial operations, okay, which is great, right? So what does actually New Era Energy and Digital Partners, what do they actually bring to the table? Well, based on my research, not that much. I mean, these guys were basically producers of natural gas and helium, and I wasn't able to find any information on them as far as having anything to do with data center build out, or even like, at least the miners had some experience in that regard because they were building out data centers for Bitcoin mining, so they had some experience in that, right? So procuring all of the things that are needed for that, so they had at least some experience. These guys don't seem to have any experience, so that's why they're heavily leaning on Primary Digital Infrastructure. If you remember, Primary Digital Infrastructure was also behind, I believe, the Caruso project, which is Stargate for OpenAI, is being built out in Texas as well. So I believe they're behind that. All right, so there's that. So that's kind of my number one concern here is not much experience by the team currently leading this. And they had, I believe, sites, wells, whatever you would call them, across New Mexico, I believe it was. I'm going off my memory here. I should have written this down, but I think it was New Mexico and possibly in Texas as well for their wells for natural gas and for helium, right, which they were getting from that. They were selling that. We'll take a look at their quarterly results here in a second here. Let's see here. This is what I was looking at here. Form 8K, New Era. Okay, this is part of the recent acquisition that they got. This was going back to December 19th. Okay, so there's another little tidbit here. Let's see here. The consideration New Era will pay Sharon AI for the interest of TCDC will be aggregate of $70 million, of which $10 million will be payable in cash, with $150,000 payable as a non-refundable deposit within 14 days of December 19th. $9.85 million payable upon the occurrence of certain events, but not later than March 31st, 2026. And B, $10 million will be payable in common stock or either units of New Era upon the occurrence of certain events, but no later than March 31st as well. And C, $50 million will be payable by issuance of senior secured convertible promissory with the right of Sharon AI to convert 20% of the amount owed in the common stock of New Era, and which matures and is due on June 30th. So basically half a year from now. So $70 million, right? Remember that number. There's $70 million that they're paying for it. $10 million is going to be in cash there. The rest of it is going to be in convertible notes as well. Down here, completion and acquisition of disposition of assets. So on December 19th, TCDC completed its previously announced acquisition of approximately 203 acres of real property located at Block 41T-2-S at TNPRR County Survey, Ector County, Texas, pursuant to the contract to purchase Odessa Industrial Development Corporation, doing business as Grow Odessa, from whom TCDC previously purchased a continuous 235 acres of land from on July 25th, 2025. The total price for the additional 203 acres was 5.1 million. The intent is for the third party to build gas-fired power generation on site. Okay, so that's kind of, well, at least we know what they're trying to do there, right? I probably should zoom this in for you guys so you guys can see it actually on the screen here. So the intent is for the third party to build gas-fired power generation on site. Okay, concern number 2 here a little bit on this part of it. We've heard from other sources, don't know how reliable they are, but it's coming from some pretty big wigs there, that gas-powered turbines, lead times on those are looking into like the 2030, year 2030 basically, is when you could possibly start getting those in. There are some companies that are trying to build those out as well. There's a new company, I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but it's building out, it's the one that was trying to build out the supersonic jet airliner. I'm drawing a blank on the company right now, but they're also transitioning the jet engine into a gas-powered turbine. Those should be coming online in about 2 years or so, in a year to 2 years, something like that. But I'm sure they already have a backlog on that, and it's going to be obviously time before those come into play. So even if they are able to build out, we're looking at maybe at the very least, I think, possibly in best case scenario, we're looking at approximately 2 years, right? That's like the very, very best case. 2 years that they could possibly start building something out and getting obviously generation there as well. No mention whatsoever right now on connections that are available to the site right now. What is that actually in megawatt size here? They do have a presentation that we'll take a look at here shortly as well, that we'll kind of dive into it as well. It shows the site potential and where the power generation is next to it. So we'll take a look at that here shortly. Okay, so that's number 2 here, at least right now, as far as the timeline when they could possibly be able to build out. Concern number 3 here is from their current 10Q results here that they provided for Q3. They currently have assets of approximately, total current assets, 17 million, right? So it looks like the cash, the 10 million that they talked about is obviously getting pulled from that. And then total assets of 23 million, right? We're not talking about billion, we're talking about 23 million here. When it comes to building out an AI data center site, you're talking about anywhere between 8 and 12 million per megawatt. They have nowhere near the amount that's going to be needed there. So 2 things are going to happen there possibly. A lot of dilution, or they're going to do dilution and convertible notes. But even if you get convertible notes, how good of a rate are you going to get on that, or how will the third party view you as a risk factor, right? And the reason I say that is because if you look at their revenues here have been for 3 months ended September 30th here, 159,000, right? So that's not millions, that's thousands, because it's not being noted up here. So it's 159,000 here in revenue. What is going to be, how are you going to be able to pay those loans and things like that? You're going to have to dilute, right? Even if you get convertible notes, you're going to have to probably dilute those as you pull on those convertible. Well, there's going to be it's going to be tricky for them to get this going. One way they could work for them is if they own land there, I think, and if they obviously partner with, where's it at here? Primary Digital Infrastructure, if they partner with them, and they actually do the build out and they just lease the land out for them possibly, right? That's one possibility. That's another possibility that could happen there. At that point, you're leasing out the land. You're not going to be getting as much as an actual data center provider. This is just my thoughts. Again, I could be wrong on this. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here, at least right now for it. So I'm seeing a very, very hard path for them to get to where they want to get to, especially if they're talking about 1 gigawatt plus. And if they're trying to get that here in a short period of time, I'm seeing this as very, very hard to do, just based on the numbers that we're seeing at least right now for them. Okay, so that's right, a concern there, right? 159,000 in revenues, not great. Yeah, I think it's, let me just double check here, but I believe everything should be in 100,000s instead of millions here, because not denoted by that. Okay. The good thing is they don't have a lot of shares out. So 53 million shares outstanding as of November 13th. That's not too bad. They will have to probably file an S3 for more shares to be applied to the company that they can pull on eventually, whether it's going to be through ATM at the market offering, doing that, or they're going to have to pull on it regardless. We don't know how much they're going to have to pull on it, but it's one of those things that they're going to have to do. Okay, now onto the corporate presentation here. The first thing that kind of stood out to me right away, and this is just a little gripe, I guess you could say. It's not a big thing, but it's a gripe. The image that they're using here on the right-hand side is an AI-generated image, but boy, is that image poor quality. It doesn't look very professional, and that's always a little slight concern for me. If you have a publicly traded company, you should be putting out your best foot forward, especially when you're presenting things to possible investors. So this is just, I guess, a little nitpick. But if you look at the image here, you can see the buildings are squished and everything else. You got parking lines that are all over the place, cars that are mangled up here. Don't know what the heck's going on with these cars. It looks like they got boats over here possibly. And then the power generation sites of things here look really, really mangled. Not a good look. At least from this part of it, does not look great to me. Okay. You guys are more than welcome to look at all the stuff here. They go on and speak about a lot of things, a lot of trend words, I guess you could say, or what's the proper terminology for that? Buzzwords, where they're using a lot of buzzwords, right? Fast growing market, trends, challenges, gaps, all that stuff here, right? 500 plus megawatts power required by modern AI hyperscalers, AI facilities. This is based on International Energy Agency. That was reported in April, which I think is even low because right now we got companies that are building out gigawatt sites. So I think this information is either old or I would say it's inaccurate right there. Okay, global data center electricity projected demand by 2030, 945 terawatt hours. I think that's definitely going to be much higher than that as well. And then 50% share of electricity demand growth in the U.S. through 2030. I think that's going to also be higher at that point. Right, then they're providing their solutions here: site aggregation and entitlement, land site engineering studies, permits, utilities, fiber, okay, infrastructure readiness, on-site natural gas generation, plus nuclear with option for hybrid renewables, modular phased build-outs for long-term lease or build to suit models. Okay, that's great. They don't have any experience in that. Yes, the other company, I'm trying to blank on the company name, Primary Digital, they do have obviously possibly some expertise in that, since they're building out with Crusoe and OpenAI there. So they do have some expertise possibly there. Big thing, one thing that we saw here recently is natural gas. EPA is cracking down on data centers for using natural gas to power their data centers. Maybe that will change with Trump. Maybe he comes down on the EPA and says, hey, knock it off or something like that. Who knows? Nuclear, you're looking obviously to build out much longer time frame. You're looking at least probably 5 to 7 years, if at best. Small modular nuclear reactors, you could probably build those out a little bit faster, but still you're looking at a number of years out. And then they're talking about anchored partnerships plus community integration, so deeply embedded with local, state, and national networks while advancing shared. Okay, that's just buzzwords there. Power land. So raw land with secured and deliverable utility power capacities such as substation access and notice to serve, but no physical data center structures built yet. Okay, that's true. I mean, I haven't seen anything there. Key benefits, utility interconnects or rights of way already secured. Okay, how much, right? It would be nice to know how much do they have there. Shortened power delivery timelines, flexible for phase or custom deployment, attractive to developers and hyperscalers. Okay, those are, again, buzzwords there. Don't really mean much to us. Going down here, I thought I did have something for you down here. This is where they're talking about here, the Permian Basin, right? They're talking about that. Odessa, West Odessa, Odessa here. So they're talking about these sites here, Permian Basin, in this area there. And where was it at? All right. Capacity, 1+ gigawatt of compute capacity, infrastructure, on-site natural gas power, high efficiency cooling optional, right? So that's if they can do all those things, right? So status, phase 1 completed. Environmental studies, data center feasibility assessment to confirm integration with existing grid infrastructure. Okay. Phase 2 underway, engineering focused on detailed data center site planning. Okay. So they're working on all those things here. Fine. And they're obviously partnering with all of these people down here. But here's the site they're talking about here as it is. So Texas Critical Data Centers, TCDC, vertically integrated data center campus, Permian Basin. Okay. That's all good and dandy. This is where they're talking about this site here, where they're looking at having about 9 buildings, being each about 400,000 square feet. Substation would go on here, power generation, phase 1, switching area, detention pond, power generation, phase 2. So all those would have to be built out, whether it's natural gas or I don't know if they're going to be able to get power on here, nuclear power. But they do have some power generation nearby. So they're talking about Quail Run Energy, 550 megawatt power plant and also Vista Energy, which is a 1.1 gigawatt power plant as well at those two sites. Not sure if those are peaker sites or if those are actual full-time running sites as well for power generation. So they are still at the very, very early stages of this to be built out. And like I said, the couple of concerns that I do have here is lack of experience, lack of capital, lack of revenues. What else did I say? Timeline to build out, right? If you're looking, what are the power connects right now? How many megawatts do they have available to them, possibly, in ERCOT? And if they're looking for natural gas turbines, power generation that way, you're looking at possibly 2030. So that's still a number of years out. Other concern is dilution, right? Because they don't have a lot of capital right now, not a lot of revenue being generated. So they're going to have to dilute shares. That's a concern there. Yes, they could go with the route of the convertible notes. But even at that point, how much of an interest rate are they going to get, right? Not a lot of revenue being generated here. That's going to be risky for some of those people who go in and give them a lot of capital to do that. The only good thing that they do have is that partner with, I'm trying to blank on the company name, Primary Digital Infrastructure. So that's the only good thing that they really have going for them. Other than that, I see a lot of red things, at least right now. Could things change for them going down in the future? Yes. Could it be, but might be a couple of years down the road here. I could be wrong on that, and things could actually change faster for them. But based on what I'm seeing here, at least right now, there's too many red things or red flags for me, at least right now, to really want to invest any capital into it. It'd be one of those things where it's kind of like put $1,000 into it and see where it goes in the next 5-10 years, right? Because that might actually turn into something meaningful there at that point if they can actually do everything they're trying to do here. So that's just kind of my take on it. Let me know what you guys thought on it. I put a question in there. Have you guys bought any stock in NUAI? 89% of you are saying that you did not. I did see on X that was it Agrippa? I think it's called Agrippa Investments. If you guys follow them, they took a stake in them, it looks like. So, and others have been talking about it as well. So I'm not just signaling out them, but it's just the one that I saw and remember as. So we'll see how they do. Something to keep an eye on. But for me, it's one of those things where I think I need to see some kind of execution and some proof actually that they can execute on this. Because, I mean, you can hype it up all you want and everything else. And sure, you're going to have people that are going to be investing in it, but can you execute on it? That's the big question there. And it's not easy to execute in this space, as we have learned. Takes obviously time, takes a lot of capital. All those things have to play into it as well. So just my thoughts on that one. Like I said, they could rocket here much faster than I expect, but that's kind of not the expectation that I have, at least right now. So I could be wrong, but we'll see. That's just my takes. All right, that is it on that one. Let me see if there's anything else in here. This was just Primary Digital Infrastructure. This is what they're investing here, right? This is the Crusoe AI Data Center joint venture there. With them, they're building out the Starbase for Stargate, I think they're calling it. Starbase or Stargate? Stargate for AI for, OpenAI. Okay, so they're partnering there as well. So they partner with the right people, I think. And hopefully they can help them out. All right, that's it on NUAI there. Let's take a look at institutional buying here over the last 6 months on these guys for the BTC miners and see how that has been stacking up here. So we're looking at the latest data that we have here that came in for this month in January, comparing it to, I believe we're going back to August. August. We're going back to August data, and we're comparing the two. How has that changed over that time frame? Okay, so if we look at price difference from 6 months ago on these guys here, we can see that Kango's down 40%, Marathon's down 33%, Cleanspark's up 17%, Bitdeer's up 14%. We got Core being up 30%, Hive being up 54% there. What else do we have here? Riot being up 62%, Bitfarms up 117%, TeraWolf 163%, Hut 8 187%, IREN 229%, and Cypher being up 257% there. When we look at the shares added by institutions, we got Kango, only 5 million shares being added there roughly. Marathon, 95 million shares, so that's a lot of shares being added there. That stock hasn't done that well for them. So you might have actually retail selling out while institutions are buying into that one. Cleanspark, 38 million. Bitdeer, 23.7 million. Then you got Core Scientific, 112 million. Hive, 31 million. Riot, 77 million. Bitfarms, 44 million. TeraWolf, 147 million being bought up by institutions. Hut 8, 12 million. IREN, about 8.7 million there. And Cypher, 66 million here. Right, Cypher, IREN, Hut 8 have done fantastically well. So maybe As far as, well, even TeraWolf is ungraded, so has Bitfarms. So we've definitely seen, at least on Bitfarms, TeraWolf, and Cypher, a lot of shares being bought up by institutions. And maybe the other two, Hut 8 and IREN, are more driven by retail. Based at least on this chart, it's a possibility, right? Based on this, that what we're seeing here, at least right now, the gains that they've had here, I don't think have maybe attributed to retail buying, but maybe it was more retail or institutions instead of retail. Okay, percentage owned by institutions, 6 months increase or decrease. So institutions did decrease 11% here in IREN over the last 6 months. Kango decreased by 9% there, and then we've had increases for Cypher up 5%, Bitfarms 8%, along with BitDeer, Hut 8 up 11%, Hive 12, Riot 14%, Cleanspark 21, Marathon 24%, TeraWolf 31%, and Core being up 35% as far as percentage increases or percentage owned increase over the last 6 months. Now we're going to take a look at the analyst high price targets changes and also the low changes on it as well, the target side of things here. So over the last 6 months, Marathon analysts have dropped their price on the high side down $9. Kango went down about $4. Hive stayed flat. Bitfarms is up $3 for the high. Cleanspark is up 5. TeraWolf is up 15. Riot up 17. Core up 17. BitDeer up 17.5. Cypher's up nicely $41. Hut 8 is up 45. And IREN's up $110. Right? IREN's, I think, high price target is like $138 or something like that by the analysts. When we look at the low change here, we can see on the low end side of things, Marathon's down about $5. Kango's down $4.75 by the analysts. Hive is down $1. Core is flat. Hive is up $2 actually. Hut 8 is up $2.50. Riot's up $3. Cypher up $5. And why do I have Cypher in here twice? Let me double check that. Why is that pulling in twice down here? Cypher is only in here once. Kango, oh, there we go. That's the one that's not pulling in. Delete series, do that again, do that, and let's see it. There we go. That fixes. So Riot's up 5, Cypher's up 7, BitDeer's up $8, TeraWolf is up $8 as well on the low end by the analysts, and IREN's up $23 on the low end. So that one has done the best here so far. Looking at this is the analyst high price targets for all these guys here. So Kango's on the high side is, by the analysts, is $4 right now. For them, Bitfarms $7, Hive $11, TeraWolf $26, Marathon $30, Cleanspark $30, CORZ Scientific $40, Riot $42, BitDeer $43, Cypher $50, Hut 8 is $85, and IREN on the high side by analysts is $136. Quite a range that we have here, from $4 all the way to $136 by the analysts on these guys here. Analyst high price difference from current stock valuation. So if they do go up to where the analysts think on the high side of things where they could be, this is where things would probably go up. All right, IREN would go up about $81, almost $82 from where it is right now. Hut 8 would go up $26, Cypher $32, BitDeer $28, Riot $23.90, Core $21.64, Cleanspark $17.24, Marathon $19.63, TeraWolf $12.67, Hive $7.81, Bitfarms $4.33, and Kango $2.59. And this is a percentage part of it here. So analyst high price percent difference from current stock valuation. So Hive would actually be the leader there if it actually went up to the high price target by the analysts. We're looking at 244% gains on it, followed by BitDeer 198, then Marathon 189, Kango 183, Cypher 179, Bitfarms 162, IREN 150%, Cleanspark 135, Riot 132, Core 117, TeraWolf 95, and Hut 8 would be up 45% from where it is right now. So still a possibility of a lot of gains in these things if they go to those highs that the analysts have stated that they would go there. Right, and you can see here the current stock prices of all these guys here. Obviously, Hut 8 is at $58. They have a lot less shares than IREN, so that's why their market cap is actually lower than IREN's by about 3x, I think, something like that. And you can see everybody else down below that as well. And then we get into the numbers here. So yes, institutions are still buying in. You can see the number of institutions that have changed here. I don't think we had a decrease in any of these guys here. I'm not seeing, I think a lot of institutions have been buying in here for the last 6 months. So that's a good sign, right? Institutions are still buying in, even though the miners have been beaten down over the last 3 months. They've had a pretty nice run up here this month in January, but prior to that, the 3 months prior to that were not great for us. And in that same time frame, the institutions have been buying in. So that's a good sign. Institutions still believe that this space, these companies, will do very, very well going forward. So I'm of that same opinion, but you will see where they end up at, and then by the end of the first half, and then obviously by the end of the year. We'll keep an eye on them, see how they do, and we'll continue to track this, obviously, how this progresses going forward. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys. So overall, still really good. like I said before, it's going to be turmoil, right? It's not going to be a straight line up. We're going to be having these nice pumps, and we're going to have these nice dumps, and then we're going to be pumping up again, and we're going to repeat and rinse and repeat basically until we get to new all-time highs sometime later on this year for these guys. So patience, patience, and patience once again. And if you can, and if you do have the possibility, not financial advice, dollar cost average in if you can on these things, especially the ones that you think are going to do very, very well, dollar cost average in on them. And I think you'll do very, very well nonetheless. Just my thoughts, not financial advice. Okay, that's it. Spreadsheet will be available to the Patreon members tomorrow. I'll get that uploaded for you guys there. If you want access to that, link for that is down in the description. You get access to all my spreadsheets and all this data, along with our wonderful Discord server, which is private for us there as well. We have a lot of great conversations there as well. All right, that's it. Let's get into Q&A here, so what you guys have to say on any of this stuff here. Your thoughts on UAI. Tell me that I'm wrong. You agree with me. Who knows? We'll get into it all. Not that one. I wanted to do this one. But as always, not financial advice. Not that one. I wanted to do Q&A. All right, it is Q&A. As always, questions. If you could preface those with a question mark or a Q, I would appreciate it. I'm going to scroll my way up and work my way down as always. And here we go. All right, Neil says, to the moon. Eventually, I think we will go to the moon. I mean, right now we're going into the graves right now, the way things are playing out. Neil says, bought some Mara today. Okay. Roger asks, why Mara? Why not? I mean, if you look at their MNAV to what they have right now and their valuation, it is way off. It's way low. It's below 1. So I agree. I think they're undervalued, but they need some fix in there. Let's see. All right. Fred, would love to, Fred says, UAI, as the saying goes, make it to heaven on someone else's ride, basically. Let's see here. John Kurt's got a question here. Ready to buy BitDeer or Wolf. Which would you pick and why? DCA on Cypher and IREN again and Will again. As far as between BitDeer and Wolf, I mean, Wolf has gotten a lot of deals, right? They've been executing very, very well here. BitDeer, I believe, has more power lined up currently that they're developing into 2026 and into 2027. They're also still building out their own ASICs. I think that one might be a better play, but the only thing is they're not domiciled in the United States. They're right Singapore based, but they're doing all the right things here. I think they're also getting into AI. I would say maybe BitDeer. That's just my thoughts on it. Unless Wolf comes out and says they're getting a couple more gigawatts of sites on that one. As far as DC on Cypher and IREN, yeah, I mean, if you get nice dips on them where it makes sense, go ahead and do that. I would do that as well. Let's see. Kamikaze asks, how many times will this joke of a president gonna tank the market until they're satisfied with the amount that they needed to buy in the market? We've seen this before. It happens, right? He goes on a tariff rampage and then he pulls back on it, or he gets a deal that he wants, and then markets react to that as well. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, people should be kind of accustomed to it already by now. Yeah, tariffs. Okay, tariffs. Okay, how much of an impact will the tariffs have on stuff coming in from Europe anyways? Not much, probably. Unless you're buying like Mercedes and BMWs and things like that. Maybe there's going to be a tariff on those things. But other than that, it shouldn't be that much of a difference there. Because I can't recall anything that I've been buying here in the last couple of years that's been made in Europe. Everything's been being made in Taiwan, China, Mexico, some stuff in the United States, but for the most part, it's all down in that area. All right, more Tim. Question, Bitcoin faltered as soon as Trump got on tariffs, which was fall of 2024. He will likely not ever stop using tariff warfare. I agree with you there. Why would Bitcoin succeed in his term? Seems unlikely. The markets have succeeded still, though, right? Markets have gone up here. Bitcoin, right now, I think we're part of that little correction, but I think we're going to be going up here. It only went down, what was it, 34, 35% here in the latest correction that we've had here. And this is the third one that we've had in the last 2 years, basically. So I think this is part of it. But yeah, it's just the markets are the markets. They have their traders and their, whether it's their AI trading bots, whatever it might be, right? Any kind of thing that's going to spook it and it's going to go down. So, and then it corrects and it goes back up here. I'm not too really worried about that right now. All right. Pure Hess says plants are not peakers. Combined cycle gas turbines with steam turbines. Plants are not peakers. Okay. Yeah, so the two sites I was talking about there, the 550 megawatt site and the 1 gigawatt site, I wasn't sure if those were peakers or regular plants. But yeah, if they're combined cycle gas turbines with steam turbines, that's good. All right. What else we got here? Let's see, Michael, I'm not sure what UU is. Traded all day, mostly around 5 all day. That near the last few minutes before close fell to close at, okay, afterwards 30 different, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what that one is. Let's see here. Sean, I think I missed the show. What did you say about NUAI? Price target, good time to buy. I'm actually concerned on NUAI. I have some red flags on that one. So I'm not going to rehash it all over again, but go ahead and rewatch it later on when you do have time. I didn't provide a price target on it. I think right now it might be even, I think it's writing on the hype of potential AI, and plus they're talking about 1 gigawatt site, right? That's writing on that. But if you look at the fundamentals in the company, the experience of the team there, I have some red flags on it, at least right now. Let's see, minus 2025 says beef to the moon. Beef to the moon. Is beef like the actual beef you eat? Is that actually bracketing? Stady, thanks so much as always for the likes. I appreciate the reminders there. I'm not a great salesperson. I probably should do that more. Let's see here. I still think Mara can go above 20 this year. I know it's not your favorite stock, but they look incredibly cheap at 10. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. They do look incredibly cheap right now as it is. So I'm with you there. I think they need to fix quite a few things internally, potentially get a little bit more focused on what they're actually going into. They're kind of all over the place right now. Plus, I've talked about it ad nauseum here, right? The share-based compensation, the bonuses, all that stuff has got to get fixed there. So they got some things they need to fix internally as well. But yeah, they're definitely undervalued where they are right now. So I would agree with you there. I think 20 is doable this year. Bitcoin goes up to 150,000, 180,000. Excuse me. I think they can definitely get back to $20 a share there, if not a little bit more. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water there. I was getting a little dry there. Sean says, Agrippa says he is bullish on new AI. He said 11 hours ago on X till post a reason why in 2 hours, but hasn't followed up. Isn't his due diligence very thorough? Something should be something to watch. Yeah, and that's what I saw too as well. Agrippa has been very, very due diligent on his things. I don't know if he sees something that I don't see, but I'm just looking at the team there. I'm looking at what's coming out, and that's the reason I just see some red flags, at least right now, right? If they can prove me wrong, then it'd be different later on. But right now, I think it's running on hype, and I think that hype can bust, especially if they have to pull on ATM, if they have to dilute a lot because they don't have a lot of assets, they don't have a lot of revenue coming in as well. Those are all concerns for me right now. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But we'll see with Agrippa if he comes out with something more than I'm not seeing. All right, Sean, Submission, do you follow ASST at all? Any conviction on that one? I mean, ASST is another Bitcoin treasury holding company. From my understanding there, I know a little bit about it, not as much as probably I should know about it, but I'm not big into treasury companies at all as far as investing in them. The reason for that is I'm not sure what kind of MNAV multiple they should be getting or a premium they should be getting on the amount that they own of Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever it might be. I think in the past, going back a couple years back, I think they would have had, all they did, they would have fetched a much higher multiple than they are right now because there's so many more on-ramps right now. So with that being said, I love the fact that they're buying up Bitcoin and they're going to be doing some maybe cool things. I know that Mike Alfred is on there and maybe he does some cool things as well. So, I mean, Mike does a lot of great things. If the only reason I would get into ASST would be to bet on Mike, right? That's the only reason I would get into that one. Because I have faith in Mike. Mike has proven proven himself to be a worthy candidate, I guess you'd say. But yeah. All right. Adam says, only solid miners for me. Well, miners, they're now into AI as well, so they're not really miners. That's why I kind of always do BTC/AI because they're kind of in both right now, a lot of these guys. But yeah, those guys that have at least proven themselves, that they can build out and things like that, those are much more appealing to me than somebody's just coming in with a bunch of buzzwords right now that doesn't have the experience and things like that, I'd give it time and let them prove their experience, I guess, is what I'm saying. All right. All right, I think that's it. I think I've got up to all you guys' questions here. We're going to call it a day. We've been going for about an hour here. Okay, so 45 minutes. It's not actually too bad here. All right, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. No guarantees that we're going to have a green day, but it's looking like it right now at least. Maybe this little correction that we've had here is over, maybe not. Time will tell. But nonetheless, I greatly appreciate all you coming in here, spending a little time here with me. And I got one more coming in from Sean, it looks like. Let's see, Sean. Why does Bitfarms always get hit the hardest? Do you think if IREN runs, it will run just as hard? It is always disappointing. Well, IREN obviously had a huge run up here, and so has Bitfarms to a certain extent. Why does it get beat down more? I'm not sure. That might be just easier to sell and buy. I'm not sure. But others have gotten beaten down as well. I mean, today, it wasn't just them being by themselves. I mean, you had... yes, Bitfarms was down 9%, 9.5% there, but you had IREN being down 6%, Hive being down 8%, and that might be because they're Canadian-based, maybe too. I mean, BTC was down 8% as well, so those were the ones that were outside. Mara was down 8.7% today, so it got beat down too. It's just not them. But if IREN runs, I think that the rest of the sector is going to run as well. IREN's obviously the queen there in the sector right now, so I think that should bode well for everybody else. All right? And that's it. We'll call it a day. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Love you all. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, bye.